So this is we're reading from Vrndavana Mahimamrta today. We've been discussing about the Palidasi Mahima, the glories of Radharani's Sakhi maidservants, Nitya Sakhis of Radharani, Priya Sakhis, like Rupa Manjari, Rati Manjari, Vilas Manjari. The 6 Goswamis have their Manjari forms. And Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur in Vrndavana Mahimamrta, he's been guiding us and directing us to meditate on our Siddhadeha as a maidservant or a dairy maiden of Radharani, a milkmaid. Sometimes the word gopi is translated as dairy maid or milkmaid, cowherd girl of Vrindavan. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati in English, it's quite nice. He used the word damsel, cowherd damsels, and Srila Prabhupada continued to use that word. The cowherd damsels of Braja Bhumi. So in addition, those that are on the platform of Rag Marg and desirous of serving Radha Krishna in their Nitya Leela, but the other Sakhis, in adherence to Rupa Manjari and Rupa Goswami, they may aspire to realize their own individual Siddhadeha along the guidelines given in these verses by Vrndavana Mahimamrta. So he also includes there that we should, there's several verses where he talks about meditating and praying to Rupa Manjari. So we talk about being Rupanugas and followers of Rupa Goswami and Sadhaka Rupa as practitioners in this physical body. We're trying to follow the teachings and example of his services when he was in Vrindavan, visiting the holy places and revealing the glories of the holy places. So we visit the holy places, the Leela Stalis of Radha and Krishna, and we reveal them. We write about them, we speak about them, we glorify them when we go on yatra. And to write Bhakti Shastras. So they wrote Bhakti Shastras, so we also follow Rupa Goswami by writing Bhakti Shastras, or studying Bhakti Shastras, or distributing Bhakti Shastras. These are all services to Rupa Goswami. Some devotees, they go out on the streets and they sell the books. Prabhupada's books, one of Prabhupada's books, they call it Prabhupada's books, The Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Or someone may go out and sell on the streets Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu by Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, that's been translated in English. So they're distributing the Bhakti Shastras, which is the contribution of Rupa Goswami. And this way we're trying to follow Rupa Goswami as a sadhaka. But then, to be a Rupanuga, or to follow Rupa Goswami, as in we have our physical form as a sadhaka, as a practitioner of Bhakti Yoga, this Braj Bhakti, worshipping Radha and Krishna in the mood of Braj. But then everyone has a Siddhadeha, Jivara Swarupaya, a Swarupa the Jiva, his eternal individual identity. And when that awakens in some idea in one's heart, by the advancement of bhakti, that he wants to serve the Lord in a particular mood, that's the first point. That he'll read about Krishna's pastimes and be attracted to Krishna's pastimes in a particular expression of love in Vrindavan. And then as he reads more closely and studies the pastimes, then he'll become aware of the servants of the Lord, of the Sakhis and Manjaris, as he reads more and more about Radha Krishna's pastimes and Madhurya Ras, Krishna and the gopis. Well, who are those gopis? And what are their names? And what are their sevas? And what is the relationship with Krishna? And he comes to know about Rupa Manjari. And pretty soon we come to know about Rupa Manjari because we're following our Guru Maharaj is following Rupa Goswami. And he tells us that we should become followers of Rupa Goswami and read his books. And all the acharyas say that we should follow Rupa Goswami. And all of the Raganuga Bhakti acharyas of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, they say we should follow Rupa Goswami. Narottam Das Thakur has so many prayers to Rupa Goswami and Bhaktivinoda Thakur and then Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna's Kaviraj. We should follow Rupa Goswami. So now, in the internal mood, or the internal identity, then one will follow Rupa Manjari. What is Rupa Goswami doing as a Sakhi servant, maid servant of Radha and Krishna? Well, has so many services, and he or let's say she, Rupa Goswami is teaching us, these are the services that I render, and you may also assist me in these same services in the spiritual world if you're desirous and you're a follower of mine. So then he gives books, this is how I serve, and this is how I hanker for these services. So I'm teaching you how to hanker for these services. Remember these services and meditate on these services. And these are books in the Stavamala, different poems like Utkalika Valari, which is so much favorable for cultivating the sevas and the mood of seva, because the verses describe his outlook, Rupa Manjari's outlook and mood towards Radha and Krishna. When we study these verses and we pray and reflect on them, then some of that mood comes into us, and we start to think that someday in my Siddhadeha as a Sakhi Manjari, I will be standing alongside, or I will be assisting Rupa Manjari, or my guru in his spiritual form as a Sakhi Manjari. And this way we cultivate our connection with and relationship with Rupa Goswami. We see so many prayers and we sing songs and we try to sing them heartfully. Sri Rupa Manjari Bhada, Sayamora Sampada. That Rupa Goswami is my wealth. Well, what does it mean, my wealth? Your wealth is what maintains you. You buy your food with your wealth. You buy your house and clothing with your money or wealth. So the wealth of Rupa Goswami is that's what he says, my Mora Bhajan, Mora Pujan, Mora Jivan. It's my life, his teachings, his example, and internally and externally. When his writings reveal his internal teachings and his external teachings, and then they're glorified. The external and internal life, the mental world, the life of Rupa Goswami is Rupa Manjari, and the dual identity, the external identity as Rupa Goswami, they're glorified by great acharyas like Srinivasa Acharya. He says, this is what they're doing externally, this is what they're doing internally. Sankhya Purva Kanama Gananatabi Kalava Sandikrita Nidra Hara Vihara Kari Vijato Shatyanta Dinachaya. This is their external physical practices as a sadhaka, like us, and practicing. Then what are they doing in their mind? What are they relishing internally? What is Rupa Goswami as Rupa Manjari? What is he doing? Radha Krishna Mahanidhi Shampavachakara Jivartadaya. Internally, he is Radha Mahanidhi. He is day and night without any eating, practically no eating. In his mind, he's meditating on Radha Krishna's pastimes and serving them in his spiritual body as Rupa Manjari. So this bhajan even glorifies that. So there's some prayers here I want to read. The 13th Sataka. This is describing Rupa Goswami. Radha Krishna Pranaya Maya Chit Jyotir Ananda Deham Kinchit Sanchintayaridi Sarata Dvai Bhava Vikyam Srimad Vrndavana Navalata Mandi Mandira Indiradi Pratanyantar Nanu Parichara Prayaso Kelanaya. Always meditate on a blissful personality who knows the sentiments and the transcendently effulgent ecstatic love of the divine couple, Radha and Krishna. Well, alas, just serve within your heart that beloved divine couple who are offered prayers even by Lakshmi in the fresh groves of Vrindavan. That's one translation. I can read another one and discuss these points. In your heart, always meditate on a blissful spiritual body, splendid with pure love for Sri Sri Radha and Krishna. In your heart, assist the dear divine couple's pastimes in Vrindavan's newly blossoming vine palaces, where Lakshmi and other goddesses pray to enter. So these two verses have variant translations and variant angles of vision, and both are mutually inclusive of each other. The first one is directing us to meditate, you can see, on a blissful personality that may be you, but generally he's speaking in a different way, this translator, when he's referring to meditating on your own Siddhadeva, his language. But in this case, and in many other places, is directed to meditate on Rupa Goswami and meditate on Rupa Manjari. So we took this translation to mean that because the verse itself, what's being described, Radha Krishna Pranaya, Maya Chit Jyotir Anandadeham. So that person who is absorbed in Pranaya, Radha Pranaya, is not me. As a sadhaka, we can't meditate that way, that our Siddhadeva is on that level. We're doing seva and we're aspiring for prema. But the pranaya means Rupa Goswami, Rupa Manjari, they're on that level and their body is made of bliss. So to me, I took this verse to mean that we should think of that blissful personality, Rupa Goswami, who knows the sentiments. He's the knower of the sentiments, the rasas, what word they use here? Could say the Radha Krishna Pranaya Maya. He's aware of their sentiments and he is the teacher, he's the rasacharya. How does he teach ras? He teaches ras as a sadhaka in his books and his example. And he teaches ras in the spiritual world when a Nava Sakhi, when a jiva enters the spiritual world, he will be trained by Rupa Goswami. In what? In ras. And how to serve Radha and Krishna with ras. Because he knows the sentiments. He's the knower of ras, rasa tattva. He's full of this Mahabhav. So the transcendently effulgent ecstatic love of the divine young couple, Radha and Krishna, at last, just serve within your heart that beloved divine couple. So there's meditating Rupa Goswami and learning from him, because Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he describes also that Rupa Goswami and other places, everyone is praying to Rupa Goswami, when will you show me the ways of serving the divine couple? When will you reveal in my heart the moods and rasas that they're exchanging with one another? So the idea that Rupa Goswami is our guru, as our Shiksha guru, is very much prevalent on this level as a sadhaka and there in the spiritual world. So I took that verse to mean this. So he's just saying that take shelter, one meaning is, of this verse, 1333, is to remember Rupa Goswami as Rupa Manjari, Sri Rupa Manjari Pada. This song by Narottam is directing us to remember Sri Rupa Manjari, and that she's the wealth. Rupa Manjari, because he's not saying Sri Rupa Goswami Pada, he's saying Sri Rupa Manjari, because he has other prayers, Narottam, where he's glorifying Rupa Goswami and using that word, Rupa Goswami. But here he's directing the sadhaka to meditate and pray to Rupa Manjari, because she has the wealth, the sampad, the wealth of rasa tattva. She has the wealth of intimate service to Radharani in her heart. She controls that wealth, and she can distribute that wealth to the sadhakas meditating on the Manjari form, hankering to serve her. They will be accepted by her at the right moment for further training. The Sri Rupa Manjari Sampada. Say more bhajan. Even there, one will be so much. Bhajan means to worship, because it's gopi dasi anudata. So the Manjaris, when we enter the spiritual world, will we not be worshipping Rupa Manjari? Will we not be praying to her and she'll be our Mora Bhajan, we'll be doing Rupa Manjari Mora Bhajan, our Bhajan will be worshipping Rupa Manjari. So this is one meaning. Another meaning of the verse is again another verse directing us as aspiring sadhakas to meditate. He says, in your heart always meditate on what? On a blissful spiritual body, splendid with pure love for Radha and Krishna. In your heart means your mind. Your mind full of your aspirations and hope. Your heartful mind. In your heart, that's why they say in your heart. Well, generally meditation is considered to be you're meditating your mind. You're trying to see, thinking of this pastime, or thinking these forms, thinking of these exchanges, seeing the eye movements, or trying to visualize, and ultimately it's in your heart, because that's at the level of spurti. You see Radha and Krishna in the heart. But as sadhakas, we're thinking, it's a chintana with our mind. We're thinking, we're conceiving. Meditation is generally described as a mental function, dhyanam, dhyanam smriti. But then samadhi, your whole being, your atma, your mind and atma all become one in absorption with the object of meditation, samadhi, that's Radha and Krishna. So then you actually, your heart, your whole existence, your heart, your very being enters the lila, that prema, that's samadhi, praying samadhi, lila pravech. So then there's no there's no mind and heart, there's no mind, heart and body. It becomes one then, and that's what samadhi means. Everything fixed on that one point. So in the beginning there's some separation between our mind and heart. So he says, in your heart, you should meditate in your heart. Actually, we're meditating in the mind, but with our heart mixed with our mind. And that's asha, that's our hope. We're meditating on what we desire, on what we're feeling. We're feeling for this goal of Manjari Sarup and the seva of Radha and Krishna. And then we're guiding our thoughts in our meditation according to the scriptures. We're meditating Rupa Dhyan Chintamani. We're meditating. Now think. There's a guided meditation by Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur. Now think of the beautiful, enchanting, delicate smile playing on the soft lips of Krishna. Begin your meditation there. Now think. What does that think? I mean, thinking means, that's why they say that even in meditation they say you close your eyes and you meditate on the Agya Chakra. When they're talking about meditation, they're talking about this region. They don't say you meditate on your heart. You can meditate on Paramatma in your heart, but to get the concentration power, first you direct your attention, you're thinking there. You're thinking at the Paramatma who's located in my heart, like a Paramatma yogi. So it's kind of like syntax in one sense, heart and mind. The mechanical process of meditation is a mental function. But the revelation of the plan of perfection is in the heart, which means it's in the whole being. Heart means Atma. The dristi, the seeing Radha and Krishna. You see, this is a discussion that was had in Tapaloka in Brihad Bhagavatamrita. When Gopakumara met the Pipalayana Rishi, and he was saying, oh, you should just meditate. Just meditate, and in your mind's eye, you'll have darshan. You become absorbed in meditation and perfect, and you'll see your Gopal, your Madan Gopal in your mind. And he said, no, I want to see him straight with my eyes. So of course he won't see him with the material mechanical eye. He'll see him with the eyes of his heart. Premanchana Charita Bhakti Vilochena. The Bhakti Vilochen is the Vilochan means heart. But it doesn't mean the physical eyes, it means the heart's eyes. He said, I don't want to see in my mind, I want to see my heart. So at that point of praying samadhi, the mind, the heart, the atmas all becomes one in love. Just the power of the vision is just love. Your mind is seeing, your ears are seeing, your nose, everything. That's why Vishnu is describing the experience of Krishna. If someone sees Krishna, has darshan, then all of his senses become eyes to see Krishna. He drinks Krishna, his ears become eyes, all the power of all of his senses. The ears rush out, they say, oh, the ears rush out and mix with the eyes, the tongue, everything. I want to drink Krishna, I want to taste Krishna's form with my eyes. I want to hear Krishna's form with my eyes. This is how he describes it. So then if someone hears Krishna's flute, or hears Krishna's voice, and all of his senses rush to become ears. All of his concentration power and perception power, it's no longer divided into five, it all becomes one. The power of seeing goes to hearing, the power of tasting goes to hearing. So the means that at the level of prema, then our whole being, whatever we have, our gross or subtle body, and our atma, our soul, our heart, it all becomes blended in one to experience the full darshan of Krishna. And that's what Gopakumar wanted. So then that's the fruit of bhakti. So here I was saying that we should think like this, that this is our, in your heart you're meditating, in your heart you're assisting the divine couples, pastimes in Vrindavan, newly blossoming divine palaces, where Lakshmi and other goddesses pray to enter. Sachi, Arundhati, and Parvati, Himadrija, Palomaja, Virinchija, Prade, Apara Siddhi, Riddhi, Sapradanglinake, that the wife of Brahma, the wife of Shiva, and the wife of Indra, they know about the glories of Radharani. And the queens of Dwarka, they know about the glories of Radharani. When they met the Brijvasis in the solar eclipse at Kurukshetra, then they spoke verses there, the Mahishis spoke verses where they glorified the exalted love of Raja Gopis, which they of course heard about from in Dwarka. They heard about the love of the Gopis and Radharani for Krishna from the mouth of Rohini Mata, whatever she could understand and perceive, because she's Balaram's wife and her perception is Vatsalya Bhav Dristi, Atmanam Manyatejagat. So Atma also has Bhav Atma. So her Atma, her being, her existence was seeing the world in terms of parental love. So she was seeing and understanding what she had heard about Krishna's pastimes and what she could perceive. She's there, and Radharani is, and the cooking in Krishna's palace in Nandagram. Rohini is there cooking right alongside of her. And she sees the intensity of her concentration on her face and the love oozing from all of her pores as she makes each and every preparation for Krishna. But she has some idea, and then she sees, she may observe how Krishna looks at Radharani and try to conclude. So in this way, the queens became aware of the pastimes and something of the exchanges from Rohini Mata and Dwarka, and what they maybe heard from sages. When they came to Kurukshetra and they saw Sakshat, they saw the gopis, and they saw Krishna, and then they glorified the love of the gopis, their exalted position, how great devotees they are of Krishna. So that's why he's saying that Lakshmi Devi and other goddesses, they can't even, they're praying to have this opportunity. They're offered prayers even by Lakshmi. So the gopis of Vrindavan, they can't match the qualification or adhikar of Lakshmi or the Mahishis, at least externally in terms of position and power and fame, worldwide fame in one sense, and significance. But the beauty of the gopis' love and the beauty of their forms has somehow captured Krishna completely. And Lakshmi, despite her greatest attempts, she couldn't capture Krishna's attention. Krishna met Lakshmi Devi once in Balavan when she was doing her, or she is or was doing her austerities to try to get Krishna's darshan in the context of Madhurya Lila, in the Ras Lila. So then Krishna came there one day in Mandiravan. He was wandering with the cows, and he left the cows there under the banyan tree. Everyone was sleeping. Then Krishna wandered off, and then because he understood what she was doing, he's in her heart. So then he asked her, he said, Lakshmi, what are you doing? He said, I am doing tapasya. He said, tapasya in Braj? This is not the land of tapasya. This is the land of Lila. This is the land of loving exchanges, rasa dance, Naga Vihar. Tapasya? You go to Haridwar, you go to Badrinath or Himalayas, go to the Himalayas for tapasya, not here. This is a place where we steal butter and yogurt. This is a place where we swim and frolic and play. And we have big feasts on Janmashtami or or any big day, on my birthday we have big feasts and everyone enjoy it. And kachoris and rabri and ladus and tapasya and braj. Every other day there's a bandara. And one day it's Vrishabhanu's party at Vrishabhanu's place for 4 days in the month of Bhadra, and during Shukla Ashtami, from Shasti to Saptami to Astami to Nomi to Dasami. 5-day party to celebrate Radharani's birthday. And everyone in Brajmandal comes to Varsthana to have Chapan Bhog as guests of Vrishabhanu Maharaj. And you've come here to do tapasya, Lakshmi Devi. Why? Oh, because I want to serve you, I want to see you in this Madhurya roop of the gopis. And Krishna said, alright, then that's no problem. You don't have to do tapasya. I want to ask you a few questions so I can understand your mentality and your angle of vision. Are you, because you want to be a gopi, you said you want to be a gopi like my gopis and enter the rasa dance and be with me there. So, do you know what a gopi is, Lakshmi Devi? Do you know? Ah, yeah, I know. Maybe. You look like a gopi, you're very golden color and very beautiful. And, but do you think like a gopi? Yeah. Do you think like a gopi? Do you feel like a gopi? And Lakshmi says, well, yeah, I mean, I'm the consort of Narayan, so why can't you're the original Narayan, so why can't I be your consort? Am I not beautiful? Yes, you're beautiful. And am I not charming and attractive? Yes. But do you think like a gopi? Do you feel like a gopi? Oh, well, what do you mean? Well, let me ask you a few questions. A gopi thinks. so then he asks a few questions, and by this, then he understands her thinking. Her thinking means her abhiman. Her abhiman means her mentality. What she thinks about herself and what she thinks about the world. Would you like to spend every day of your life collecting cow dung, gober, and collecting it from the fields, and then taking it on your head, and then carrying it on your head back to your home, and then mixing it with some straw and making these nice patties that we put on the wall, these cow dung patties for cooking chapatis? Lakshmi says, are you kidding? You know who I am? I'm a Rani, I'm Vishnu Rani, I'm the queen of Vaikuntha. I'm Narayan's consort. Nitya Patni. So when she gave her answer, then he understood her abhiman. I am Vaikuntha Rani, I am the queen of Vaikuntha. And he's thinking, this abhiman is not quite right. This is not gopi abhiman. Krishna was quiet. He said, Acha, very nice answer. Okay. And then one by one, he said, this was the really one that pinched her too much. He said, Lakshmi Devi, are you, my gopis, they're married, they're all married. And I play the flute at night, and I call them, come with me, dance. So if you want to be gopi, then you have to be married also. You'll have your pati. You have your Narayan pati, you have your pati here, and your gopi sarup. And but you have to have intense in your heart utpati bhav, upapati bhav, upapati bhav. You have to have the real bhav of your heart is upapati bhav, parakya bhav. You have to have the mood that yes, this so-and-so is my husband. This so-and-so gop is my husband. But my prananath, my pyari, is Shyam, Krishna. I'm married, but I'm in love with Shyam. I'm married to this gopa, but Shyam is my everything. Okay, I do my domestic duties, but my heart is always running to Shyam. My mind is always thinking of Shyam. I'm always waiting to hear Shyam's invitation for Ras. So this is how gopis think. So when you get married and become a gopi in Braj, you'll be able to have this upapati bhav. Huh? Vishnu, 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 Vishnu. Lakshmi, she put her fingers in her ears. Vishnu, Vishnu, Vishnu. She cried out, because when anyone recites Vishnu's name, it creates all mangalam and chases away all bhutas and goats and anything inauspicious and any misconception, confusion. Vishnu, Vishnu, Vishnu. It's like people may be afraid. They say, Nrsimha, Nrsimha, oh Nrsimha, Sri Nrsimha, Jai Jai Nrsimha, Sri Nrsimha, Jai Jai Nrsimha. So then they invoke Nrsimha's presence to create auspiciousness and fearlessness, because he's the Lord of fearlessness. And Vishnu is the Lord of the living entities, so bring auspiciousness for maintenance and nourishment. Vishnu. So like Vishnu, Vishnu, Vishnu. He said, and then so then Krishna said, so you can think like this, you can have this bhav. Because at first he inquired about her thinking, her mentality, her abhiman. Then he inquired about her feelings, her bhav. She said, are you kidding? That's sin? This is patni brat. Pati brat. I have to be chaste and faithful to my husband? How can I run with someone else? This is a dharma. You're asking me to be your gopi, I have to go against dharma? Because she didn't know the Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharma Pratishta. So it wasn't spoken yet. So then Krishna said, that's right. So Krishna said, Lakshmi Devi, let me say one thing. I'll come back. I'll meet you again. But you continue eating these bilva patas. You continue eating these leaves of the bael tree, which you're sitting under doing tapasya. And you think about what I said. You consider my proposal, whether you can engage in the activities of a gopi and think like a gopi, that you're simply a humble maidservant, a coward maiden of mine. And if you can actually have this bhav, then you work on it. You work on it, you practice now, and you think, I'll come back. So then when Krishna walked away, he thought, no chance, impossible. This Lakshmi Devi is never going to make it. Because she doesn't have the abhiman, gopi abhiman, the mentality of thinking of a gopi. And she doesn't have gopi bhav. She has mahishi bhav, queen, that I am the queen of Vaikuntha. I'm a Rani, I am Vishnu Rani, Vaikuntha Rani. So she doesn't have the bhav, dasi and udasi. All the sakis in Vrindavan, they have the mood, dasi and udasi. Lalita is Radha-dasi, Vishaka is Radha-dasi, the mantras are Vishaka-dasi and Lalita-dasi, and all dasi. Gopinath, Bhartu, dasi and udasi. Go Bhartu means the Lord. He's the Bhartu, the Lord, and we're the Vritya, we're the servants. Ekala Ishvara Krishna Arasavi Vritya. We're Ashoka Dasika. We're Ashoka Dasika. And Gopi explains, Gopi say, you didn't pay anything for our service. We served in your house, we served in your heart, we served in your mind. We serve you day and night with everything we have. You never paid us a farthing, a penny, a rupee. Ashoka Dasika. We're your unpaid maidservants, but still we're not complaining. We just want you to be in front of us so we can continue serving you without any pay. That's our whole life. So this is the dasis of Radharani, the Saki dasis. They're just thinking, this is their mentality. That what is my mentality? Gopinath, dasi and dasi. The internal identification, and sadhu, identifying as our spiritual body. We're dasi and dasi. Externally we're dasa and dasa and dasa. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was praying, he offered this prayer in front of Jagannath. But if it's Jagannath for Lord Chaitanya, Jagannath is actually Gopinath. He offered this prayer, Naham Vipro Na Chandra Patirnapi Vaisham Shudro Naham Varina Chagriha Patir No Manishto Yatirava Kintu Prodhyam Nikala Paramananda Purnabhita there Gopi Bhartu Parakamayar Das and Das. He said, hey Gopinath. He said, So Mahaprabhu is Krishna in Radha Bhav. He's in Radha Bhav. So he's not praying in this Purusha Bhav. He's praying in Prakriti Bhav. That's Radharani. Radharani's Mahabhav. So therefore he's thinking, hey Gopinath, I am your Dasi, I am your Dasi. I am your Radha. I am your servant, I'm your servant. Radharani is serving the Sakhis. The Sakhis are serving Radha. So this is the meditation, as he's saying here. To think of ourselves like that. We're a dear servants of the servants of Radha and Krishna. Another verse we can discuss. Okay. It's 14 Sataka, verse number 40. No, that was 14:40. And again, this is when I was reading this book, we in this particular translation, because that was the only one in front of our hands, or in our eyes. And as we read this book with this English translation, and chanted and meditated and prayed, we saw these verses in this particular way as alluding to and indicating Sri Rupa Manjari. Because we were looking to find verses in glorification of Rupa Manjari, and we saw these verses can be, according to this English translation, taken that way. This is 14 Sataka, verse number 40. Srimad Radham Suratasmara Shanti Bhajam Priyasya Suktam Bhakshastala Savapusham Sevate Prema Magya Yakachitam Ya Iha Manyate Swatma Bhavena Danya Prokshena Yayam Atihata Pindaya Syat Kritarta. Becoming tired after performing a battle of conjugal pastimes, Sri Radha lies down to rest on the chest of her beloved Krishna. At that time, a particular gopi engages in the service of Radha and Krishna with ecstatic love. If one can even indirectly meditate on this gopi in his heart, then despite being defeated by his senses, he can become glorious. There's no doubt about it. So we saw this translation of this verse, assuming that it is accurate. We'll find out in another translation. But it's pointing us to remembering Rupa Manjari, not Rupa Goswami in this case, but Rupa Goswami's Manjari form, and how, because this is the privilege of the Manjaris, the Priya Sakhis of Radharani, these little bit younger maidservants of these young Balyadasi Kinkaris, they can be inside the Kunja with Radha and Krishna. Even sometimes Radharani invites the Manjaris and she says, come. And she lifts up the sheet of the flower bed and says, come under the sheet. You stay here. You stay next to me. And she's right next to Radharani, or Krishna. So he's directing us that a gopi, a particular gopi, is engaging in her service. Then if you can even indirectly somehow meditate on Rupa Manjari in your heart. So we're meditating Rupa Goswami and his teachings and trying to follow them and live them. That's one level. Seva Salaka Rupena Sirupena Chatrahi. So then, that's the external Salaka Rup. Then in desirable Siddhadeya, then we're thinking directly, indirectly, remembering Rupa Manjari, rendering so many services. So Vrndavana Mahimamrta Saraswati Tunga Vidya Sakhi. It's discussing, glorifying the manjaris here. But we saw that he's glorifying Rupa Manjari because she is the Mukhya Manjari. She's a primary manjari in the Lalita Sakhi's gun, and considered to be the chief of all the manjaris and the teachers of all the manjaris. So obviously she is most vidagda in this seva of Radha Krishna, so expert and clever. She's the role model, she's the teacher, and for example, a newcomer Sakhi may have their service may be a little distant. They may assist, they may be given, your service is chamara, your service is grinding chandan, your service is making tumble, your service is vastra seva. You clean Radharani's garments and iron them and prepare them. Your service is alankar, let's say, avaran seva, taking care of Radharani's ornaments, repairing them when they're broken, or like this, and often selecting certain ornaments for her to wear on different occasions. If it's Purnima, then you will go avaran means ornaments, decorations. You'll go to the jewelry store and you'll pick out, on Purnima for example, you'll pick out all the white jewelry, the pearl necklaces and earrings, so the Radharani is just blending with the full moon night. And so then that's their seva. Now, but to be directly inside in Nikunj, and Radha and Krishna most intimate pastimes, those sevas are obviously going on, but being eternally performed by the nearest and dearest Sakhis of Radha and Krishna. When you read about in Govinda Lilamrita, Krishna Bhavanamrita, the Sakhis bathing and dressing Radharani, they mention names there. And they don't mention names of Navasakhis. They mention names of Nitya Parishas, Ragatmika Sakhis, Nitya Sakhis of Radharani. Chitra Devi is painting Radharani. That's their Nityas, those are some of their daily services, Nitya Sevas, that every day Chitra Sakhi is painting dots and Kasturi dot on Radharani's chin, and painting her Kamayantra tilak, and then every day Lalita is dressing her. These are their services. So when you become a manjari, oh yes, you'll be dressing directly Radharani. I never seen that in any of the Diksha Patras of any of the Parampara lines when they describe the Nitya Seva of a Navasakhi or a sadhaka who's aspiring to serve Radha and Krishna in the spiritual world. I mentioned the Sevas, and they're somewhat a little bit, you can say, some distant to some extent. For example, your service is chamara. You can read in Sankalpa Kalpajam by Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur. He says, when will I be pulling on the ceiling fan? This is chamara, it's a type of chamara, fanning service. Or chamara, you may be standing there, fanning them. But so then he says, then Rupa Manjari will come to me and say, hey Sakhi, stop that service, go pick some garlands. So when he's fanning with the vine fan, which is, he's outside in Nikunj, he's looking through, he's able to see the very intimate services, because he has that service. Service gives access to the Lord. So he has this intimate service of fanning them, which is generally given to the manjaris, from what I've read. But at the same, because he has that service, then he has that advantage of being there when Radha and Krishna are together, and right outside the Kunj, looking through and seeing them, enjoying. And Radharani doesn't feel any embarrassment or hesitation there. But if she's thinking that some Sakhi, like Lalita or Vishaka, she's pulling on the fan and she's looking through, that wouldn't be possible. So that's why these particular services, so that's Rupaman, that Vishnu Chakravarti, Vallabha, Vinod Vallari Manjari, is doing that seva. But then, when she's looking through the Kunj and seeing Radha and Krishna together, who's there? Who's she looking at with Radha and Krishna? Rupa Manjari, doing the most intimate services. And then what will happen is the sadhaka who attains perfection, he will assist. He will have he has one specific service, and then he may be invited, or by the arrangement of Rupa Manjari, or his Guru Sakhi, or Lalita, he may, oh please, oh Mandri, you come and you help today. Right? You'll be trained in all these services, how to do all these services, the 64 arts, you'll be trained there, and learn all the services of Radharani. And then you have your specific service and many other services. Maybe the specific service of Vinod Vallari is Chamra, and it's written on the Diksha Patra, meditate on yourself doing Chamra. And also, hey, drop that Chamra, go make a garland. So you have to be all-arounders, like Prabhupada said, remember? So the devotee should be an all-rounder. You should be able to cook, and should be able to do puja, and all the basic sevas that are most pleasurable to Radha Krishna, cooking for them, worshipping them, playing musical instruments, singing for them, speaking about them, all these main, Swarup Siddha Bhakti. Probably we should be an all-arounder as sadhakas. Well, that doesn't mean we shouldn't be an all-arounder as siddhas. So also in our spiritual body, we have to be all-arounders. And you see, the mantris, they can sing, and they can dance, and they help Radharani cooking, they do everything. So it's not, for eternity I just go like this, I pull the fan. It's eternally you pull the fan, no doubt. We do so many other varieties of services. So I see this verse in that way, Lord, to remind me of Rupa Manjari's unique position. And she might come out and say, hey Saki, and she'll call some other Saki, oh you pull on the ceiling fan, Saki you come in, you help me. We're going to wake up Radharani today, and Radha Krishna. So I'm going to massage Radharani's feet. You massage Krishna's feet, like I told you, like I taught you how to massage. You read that Vilapa Kusumanjali. That in Vilapa Kusumanjali, Raghunath Das Goswami says, oh Rupa Mandri, when will you give me the feet? When will you give me the feet which you are worshipping? Because Rupa Mandri is massaging Radharani's feet, and she says, and Rati Mandri, Raghunath Das, he's been engaged in more massaging Krishna's feet. He said, okay, this is nice, but I want to worship, I want to massage Radharani's feet. I mean, it's all for the pleasure of Radha and Krishna, Anukulya. So in this way he's begging for that opportunity. So, okay, today. So it's a very nice arrangement here of this whole spiritual world. The possibilities are unlimited. So that's why you have to learn all the different services. When you go there, then different Sakis and Mantris will teach the newcomer Saki, that sadhana siddha Saki, will teach them all different arts, and they're all expert themselves. Like you see in the writings of Bhaktivinoda and others, when will Lalita Saki take me to a cave? When will Vishaka Saki take me to a cave and teach me singing? When will Lalita teach me the art of making this? And each Saki will be teaching the mantras, and you'll learn all the 64 arts and all the unlimited ways and arts to serve Radha and Krishna in the spiritual body, in the spiritual world. Just imagine, you're in a university, Radha Krishna's Prem Seva University. Radha Krishna Prem, it's called RPU, or RKP, Radha Krishna Prem University, or Prem Seva University, PSU. They have sometimes on t-shirts it says PSU, or Louisiana State University or something. FSU, Florida State University. So this is PSU, Prema Seva University. Oh, so who's the dean of the school? The dean is Radharani. Srimati Radharani, she's the dean. The dean means like the head of the school, is it right? The dean. And who are the teachers there? Oh, there's Professor Lalita Saki, and there's Professor Vishaka Saki, and there's one Professor of Mantri. Acha, all the teachers are ladies? Yeah. It's the whole school is full of ladies. It's a girls' school. Like in India, they have girls' schools and boys' schools. Or they used to. I think they wound up business school. They were, and they changed the co-ed. So this is the situation there. So let's read this. We're almost, I think, finished. We'll read this, another translation of 14th Satika, 40th verse. Is it? I guess it's it. Yeah, it's right here. So I'll read this one and I'll read that one again to refresh everyone's memory. Srimad Radham Surta Samara Shranti Bhajam Priyasya Suttam Vakshastalasa Vapusham Sevate Prema Magna Yagachitam ya iha manyate swatma bhavena dhamya. Swa atma bhavena dhamya. Parokshena yayam atihato pindriye syat kritartha. Tired after performing a battle of conjugal pastimes, Sri Radha lies down on the chest of her beloved Sri Krishna. One gopi engages in their service with ecstatic love. Savapusham sevate prema magna. Prema magna, magna means to be, the word magna means to be submerged. Magna, submerged in prema. Savapusam. Suttam vaksha stala. You say vaksha, that prayer to the Lord, the Sringadev. Tavakara kamala vrena kamala, the string, vaksha, the chest. He bifurcated the chest. So suttam vaksha stala. The stala, the place of Krishna's chest, she's suttam. Supti means sleeping, she's resting. Suttam vaksha stala. Sara vapusham sevate prema magna. So that gopi is serving Radharani in that form, Vapusham. What form Vapu? In that form of, at that time, Radha Krishna, so intimately connected. And her seva is sevate prema magna. Her seva is, her whole heart is submerged in the deepest ocean of waves of love. That's prem seva. Sevate prem means prem seva. And the seva is so much drenched with the waves from the deep ocean of her love. Prema magna means her heart is submerged in the deepest ocean of appreciation and attachment for the pleasure of Radha and Krishna. And that's how she's serving. If one can even indirectly meditate on this gopi in his heart, swatma bhavena danya, then despite being defeated by his senses, he can become glorious. There is no doubt about it. In this translation, another translation here of the same verse. As Srimati Radha, fatigued from the battle of conjugal pastimes with her beloved Krishna, rests on the chest of her Sham, a certain gopi plunged in pure love serves Radha. Even though that devotee may be destroyed by his senses, and even though he cannot directly see any of these pastimes, a person who in his heart meditates on this gopi becomes supremely fortunate. So I took this verse to indicate that meditate on this certain gopi. So that's Rupa Manjari. I'm seeing it like that. And even if, okay, we are sadhakas, and we are practicing, and we have senses and mind, and we have desire. We're not Shuddha, we're not pure devotees, Shuddha bhaktas. So it's called sadhana. Sadhana then sadhya. Sadhana, a sadhaka becomes a siddha. But before he becomes a siddha, he has material desires, may be destroyed or defeated by the senses. Both of these verses are basically the same. But how does he become victorious over that? By his sadhana bhajan. And sadhana bhajan is the external and internal practices. So here, Vrndavana Thakur is talking about the internal practices by which the sadhaka gains spiritual power and strength to conquer his mind and senses and free them from the control and destructive nature of material desires. So he says, meditate on Rupa Manjari, and don't worry about this body. You have this body engaged in Krishna's service. You have these desires. Neglect them. So many desires arise. Don't pay attention to them. Don't feed them. Don't entertain your desires. It's like we entertain guests. Desires are not guests to be entertained. Desires are not guests to be entertained. Desires are impediments to be removed. Material desires, obviously. Generally, if you use the term desire, everyone knows it means material desire. So the practice of smarana, meditation on Radha Krishna's pastimes, is so powerful that it destroys the disease of the heart, hridrogam kamam. And this is what's being told here. A specific guided, pointed, focused and guided pointed meditation. Yes, you have a Krishna Surupaya. You are the Krishna Jivara Surupaya. Yes, you have an eternal spiritual form. And by chance, if you're inclined and attracted and interested with deep greed and attraction and attachment to serve the Lord like Rupa Mantri, then you want to think of Rupa Mantri. What is she doing in the service of Radha and Krishna? You want to emulate your thinking after his services and mold your heart according to the feelings and bhav that he's displaying in his services to Radha and Krishna. And you want to live your sadhaka life as he guided us in his Upadeshamrita and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And then we want to follow Rati Mantri also, Vrndavana Swami, the Prayojanacharya, as Vana Shiksha. These are the instructions for our sadhaka group. He gave all the acharyas, he gave so many instructions how to cultivate and purify and elevate the sadhaka group, the practitioner. And simultaneously, they give all kinds of instructions how to cultivate, purify and elevate the spiritual siddhadeha. There's two genres, or two branches of the books they've given and the teachings they're giving. That's why they're glorified. We glorify Rupa Goswami, and we glorify Rupa Mantri. We follow Rupa Goswami, and we follow Rupa Mantri. This is the external and internal practices, the physical and mental practices of Raganuga Bhakti are centered around the example of the 6 Goswamis, especially Rupa Goswami Pad. That's Raganuga Vaishnava. So we'll conclude the class. Jai Jai Shri Radhe.